Hey couples, thank you for taking the time to check out video number 2 here today, and I hope that you got the chance to watch the first video where we asked the question, where are you looking, from Hebrews 12 and verse 2. And today I simply want to add a second question to your thinking, and that is simply this: what are you learning? What are you learning? 1 Peter chapter number 3 is some marriage advice for husband and wives. But then it says in verse number 7, likewise ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of God, that your prayers be not hindered. While this verse is specifically to husbands, the previous verses include the wives. And I believe that Peter was inspired by God to tell the husbands to dwell with their wives according to knowledge, because he knew that we needed as much help as we could get in that area. But ultimately, I believe it is wise for both husbands and wives to be learning more of each other and learning more of their personal relationship with God. And so as you evaluate what you're learning, I simply want to ask you just 2 areas where I believe that you should be learning and growing. The first one is, what are you learning about your relationship with your spouse? It gives us this command to dwell with our wives according to knowledge, but then it follows that and it says, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel. Husbands, you should be leading your home in learning the things that are going to be beneficial for your relationship. Wives, you should be learning the things for your husband that are going to be beneficial to your relationship. And while it's important for each of us to be learning something that will improve us, we also should be learning things that help us improve the other. You see, the marriage relationship is not intended for us just to stay the same. It's intended for us to sharpen each other. The Bible teaches us in Proverbs that iron sharpeneth iron, and so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend. There should be no more sharpening of a relationship in your life than your relationship with your spouse. I would argue that if we're not learning, we're not growing. And sometimes it's very easy in a busy world to slip into maintenance mode in our marriage, to just kind of maintain the status quo, to not really learn any likes or dislikes, to never really maybe improve our communication skills or improve our physical health or improve our schedules. And so it's easy for us to just enter into museum mode of let's just curate what we've already established. And yet God calls us in this passage to be learning and to dwell according to knowledge and to learn of each other. But the second relationship that I believe that is important for us to be learning and growing in is in our relationship with God. You see, right on the heels of this verse about dwelling with your spouse according to knowledge, it says this in verse number 8, finally, be ye all of one mind, having compassion one of another. Love as brethren, be pitiful, be courteous, not rendering evil for evil or railing for railing, but contrariwise blessing, knowing that ye thereunto are called, that ye should inherit a blessing. For he that will love life and see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil, and his lips that they speak no guile. Let him eschew evil and do good. Let him seek peace and ensue it. While you should be learning of your relationship with your spouse, you should also be learning and growing in your relationship with God. I hope you haven't entered into maintenance mode in your marriage, but I also pray that you haven't entered maintenance mode with your relationship with God. And what God calls these people to do on the tail end of some very wise and biblical marriage counsel, He gives them just practical Christian living tips. Do good. Don't render evil for evil, but contrariwise blessing. Let them eschew evil. And what I would challenge you with today we've set aside as date night. Let me challenge you to spend a moment and do 2 things. Share with your spouse something that you're learning about your earthly relationship with them. But then take some time to share with your spouse something that you're learning in your spiritual relationship with God. This should not be foreign in the Christian marriage. There should be conversations about things that God is working on you about, things that God is challenging you and convicting you of, maybe some ways that God's leading you. And what you should do is you should spend some time this evening just saying, this is what I'm learning about you. This is what I'm learning about our relationship with each other. These are some areas I'm going to try to do better in. But also take some time to share some things that are spiritual, some things that you're learning about your walk with God, maybe some goals, some dreams that you have for serving Him, something you would like to do when you return home. And I believe that if we will keep our upward focus looking unto Jesus, and we'll keep our inward focus of learning how God is working in our lives and how we can better dwell according to knowledge, that I believe that God will be glorified. And I pray that you can use this evening or this afternoon to challenge and to develop your relationship with your spouse as you evaluate, what are you learning?